If there's any castle in Europe that needs no introduction, it's the Palace of Versailles in France. Famous mostly because of the last king to call it home, Louis XVI, and his even more famous wife, Marie Antoinette, this palace and its opulent gardens play host to over 3 million visitors a year. The earliest mention of Versailles was in the year 1038 in a document that referenced Versailles as a village long before the castle was ever there. The construction of the palace and gardens lasted through 3 different reigns. It began with Louis XIV, saw several adjustments under Louis XV, and was made infamous during the reign and subsequent beheading of Louis XVI. The entire grounds of Versailles measure larger than the island of Manhattan in New York. The Queen's bedroom was one of the largest rooms in the private apartments because she was required to give birth in public so that there would be no question of the heir's legitimacy. There are 700 rooms and 67 staircases. The palace is still used as more than just a tourist attraction today. Politicians meet here to discuss amendments to the French Constitution, and there have been a few contemporary art exhibitions that have taken place on the grounds. There's many rooms like these filled with paintings as you walk along to enjoy the palace. I decided not to show you all the ones I filmed because this video would be too long. I just showed you a few so that you get the idea of how many rooms and how many paintings are in the palace. The Palace of Versailles, or simply Versailles, is a royal chateau in Versailles. It's known as the Chateau de Versailles. When the chateau was built, Versailles was a country village. Today, however, it's a wealthy suburb of Paris. I've seen information that says that Versailles is 20 kilometers southwest of Paris. Sometimes they say it's 21 kilometers. I've seen somewhere where they say 10 miles. Sometimes I've seen where it says 9 miles. So you can expect the Palace of Versailles to be anywhere from 9 miles to 13 miles outside the city of Paris. Basically, it's about a 20-minute train ride to get there. I decided to include more rooms with the paintings just because of the ceilings. Each room was really crowded with people walking and taking photos, so it was really hard to get around. Sometimes you would see a tour guide and he would be speaking to the group in the front, but I couldn't hear and it was too hard to squeeze through the crowd. These ceilings are amazing. I told you that about 3 million people visit the palace a year. I think all 3 million were there the same day I was. I think most everyone has heard of Marie Antoinette. She was described by her brother as likable and honest. Louis XVI entrusted Marie with entertaining the court. She had a flair for entertaining and organized theatrical performances 2 or 3 times a week. She also revived the grand balls. She played billiards and cards with great enthusiasm. She was also a music lover and played the harp. Later on, she was partly blamed for France's financial crisis because of her lavish spending. Marie Antoinette was born November 2nd, 1755, and lived until October 16, 1793, when she was beheaded by the guillotine. Long after Marie's death, she still remains a major historical figure and a major cultural icon that's associated with high glamour and a certain style of life, appealing today to the social and cultural elites. She's frequently the subject of several books, films, and other forms of media. Most academics and scholars have deemed her frivolous and superficial and have attributed the start of the French Revolution to her, in addition to the beginning of the French Revolutionary Wars of 1792. I had the opportunity to shoot out this window to get a little bit of the gardens. "Let them eat cake" is the quotation that's usually attributed to Marie Antoinette. It's claimed to have been uttered during one of the famines that occurred in France during the reign of her husband Louis XVI. Upon being alerted that the people were suffering due to widespread bread shortages, the Queen is said to have replied, "Then let them eat brioche." Although this anecdote was never cited by opponents of the monarchy at the time of the French Revolution, it did acquire great symbolic importance in subsequent histories when pro-revolutionary historians sought to demonstrate the obliviousness and selfishness of the French upper class at that time. It seems upon further research that Marie Antoinette never actually said this. Here's one comment that I read. The statement was callous and ignorant, and Marie Antoinette was neither of these. I hope you've enjoyed this brief little tour of the Palace of Versailles. I've got photos of this, many other things in Paris like the Eiffel Tower and Notre Dame. If you'd like to download these photos for free, go to my website, paulmichaels.com, and look around. I have photos from all of my travels that are about 20,000 plus photos. I'm sure you'll find something you like, and don't forget, download as many as you want for free.